What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, July 24th, 2021, and I wanted to talk to you guys about some recent bear attacks that have happened across the United States. And I wanted to just analyze these bear attacks and talk about some lessons learned and what we could learn from these attacks. So, about 2 months ago, there was a teenage girl in the Smoky Mountains that was camping with her family that was attacked in the middle of the night by a black bear. And she was sleeping in a hammock, and she was awoken around midnight to a bear clawing at her back and biting her through the hammock. So that's the first attack I want to talk about. Then the second attack, which is one of the more sad attacks, that teenage girl, she ended up surviving. So she's doing fine. She didn't get critically injured or anything. She just got scratched and bitten, and then her family drove off the bear and scared it away. So she was fine. But the second attack, that's a little bit more disturbing and more sad, is there was a woman from California that was backpacking in the Glacier National Park area in Montana, and she was killed by a grizzly bear while she was sleeping in her tent. So that's another attack that I want to talk about. And if you guys don't know what happened with that attack, I'll explain it in more detail in a second here. And then finally, just a few days ago, there was some news that came out about a guy who was attacked by a bear over the course of an entire week in a remote camp outside of Nome, Alaska. And the bear was coming to his camp every single night, and he was not able to sleep at night because he had to stay awake and defend himself from the bear. And the bear was basically trying to kill him, presumably, and eat him. So that's another recent attack, and I want to get into the details of that. So I want to talk about the lessons learned as, being an outdoorsman. I know a lot of you guys are outdoorsmen, and also even as a prepper, or just even if you're not a prepper, like a hardcore prepper, but just a sensible, citizen that's concerned for their family's safety and their safety. Bears are a serious threat, especially if you spend time outdoors, if you're into hiking, fishing, hunting, camping. Any time you spend in the wilderness, there's always a chance you can run into a bear. And I've done a lot of videos on bear safety and bear attacks and how to defend yourself. But I want to just get into the details of these attacks and the lessons learned. So the first attack, like I mentioned, it was a teenage girl. She was with her family. They were camping in a remote section of the Smoky Mountains, and she was sleeping in her hammock. And around 12:30 in the middle of the night, 12:30 a.m., just after midnight, she woke up and a bear was attacking her, and her family was able to scare the bear away. Now, the second attack, the really sad one, was involved a 65-year-old woman from California who was backpacking in the Glacier National Park area. She was a nurse, and she died. But I want to read the details of this attack. So she was camping in a small town called Ovando, which is right outside of Glacier National Park. And she set up a tent. This was going back about 3 weeks ago. She set up a tent right next to the post office in the center of the town. And at about 3 a.m., she was attacked. She was dragged out of her tent and mauled to death. And, it's really, really sad. But there was actually another couple that was in her party. So there was a group of them hiking together, And so she was with other people, and they both had their tents set up right next to the post office in this little town. And so they thought they were safe because they set up their tents in the middle of the town, right next to the post office. They figured the bears wouldn't come into town like that. So they were a little bit more sloppy with their securing their food and making sure they don't have any food around them. And that's presumably what drew the bear in, was the smell of their food. So the bear initially woke up the campers around 3 a.m., but then ran away. Then the woman who died and the couple that was with her, the three of them, they removed food from their tents, secured it, and then went back to sleep. And then just 30 minutes later, the bear came back and started attacking the 65-year-old woman. And they tried to spray the bear, the couple, because there was three of them. There was the 65-year-old woman who died, and then the couple. They woke up to the bear attacking the woman, and they ran out and tried to spray the bear with bear spray, but it was too late. The woman was killed. So that's the second attack. Very, very sad situation there. This was a 65-year-old woman from Chico, California. And, I'm sure she had some family members that are mourning her right now. So very sad situation that could have been prevented. And then moving forward to most recently, there was a guy who was out in the remote areas of Alaska, and he had to be rescued. So I'll read to you guys the article here from the BBC World News. A man has been rescued in Alaska after desperately flagging down help, having been attacked and harassed by a grizzly bear for a week. U.S. Coast Guard officials were alerted by an SOS message on a shack roof and spotted a man waving his arms in the air, calling for help. The man told them that he had been attacked by a bear and hadn't slept for days after it kept coming back to his camp. He was found with chest bruising and an injured leg he had taped up. The helicopter crew had been on their way to fly a team of scientists on a wildlife research mission when they were diverted off course by weather and spotted the distress message. According to the New York Times, the man had almost run out of ammunition for his gun, and the door of the shack where he was staying had been ripped off. And Lieutenant Commander Jared Carbajal told New York Times that at some point a bear had dragged him down the river. He had a pistol. He said that the bear kept coming back every night and he hadn't slept in a few days. So that's pretty crazy, guys. And what you're looking at here is actually a picture of his camp. So this is his camp, that shack. This was a remote mining camp 40 miles outside of Nome, Alaska. So this bear was basically terrorizing this guy who was living there. I don't know what he was doing there, if he was a miner, if he was a hunter, if he was just spending time in the outdoors. But nevertheless, this bear kept coming back to his camp, and which is, as you can see, it looks pretty poorly constructed. It's not structurally strong, so I'm sure the bear could easily get inside. And he had to climb on the roof of his shack and wave a flag to the Coast Guard helicopter that was flying by to rescue him, because the bear was basically circling his camp for a whole week, and he almost ran out of ammunition. So that's an interesting situation here. The man has not been named, but officials said he is in his late 50s or early 60s and has been reported overdue home from the trip by friends. The U.S. Coast Guard flew him to a hospital in order to get medical attention, but says his injuries are not life-threatening. So these three attacks, guys, there's a couple of things that stand out to me. Number one is that all of them took place at night. So the teenage girl in the Smokies, she was attacked just after midnight, and that was a black bear. The grizzly bear attack in Montana happened at 3 a.m. And this attack, the most recent one I just read in Alaska, the guy was reporting that the bear was coming back every night and he couldn't sleep because he had to stay up to defend himself. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that bears are actually more, they are crepuscular meaning that they're active at dawn and dusk, but they're also nocturnal, especially in the summertime. They're more nocturnal than they are diurnal. During the day, they'll usually be sleeping or bedding down, and they become nocturnal for a variety of reasons. Number one, they feel safer at night because they know that people are not out at night and there's not as many cars on the road and things like that. It's just like deer. That's why deer in the summertime, deer become nocturnal, at least in my area and many areas of the country, they do, because they feel safer coming out at night. So a lot of people don't know this, but bears are actually not like more nocturnal than they are diurnal. Okay, so that means that bears are more active at night than during the day. And the reason why they're active in the dawn and dusk hours is because that's the time that they're waking up and getting ready to go out and start their day. So like we wake up at 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning to start our day and go to work. For a bear, that was sleeping all day, he gets up, let's say at 6 p.m. and stretches out and starts his day in the evening. That's his morning. Okay. So that's something that we need to be aware of, is that bears are very active at night and also the dawn and dusk hours. So this is why all of my defensive firearms have night sights on them, especially my bear defense firearms. I have night sights on all of them. And the reason why is because you're more likely to get attacked by a bear at night than you are during the day, or at least during low light conditions, either dawn or dusk. So you need to have a firearm that you can operate in low light or no light conditions. And you also need to be able to have a place where you can train in low light and no light conditions to practice with those night sights. Because it doesn't matter if you get night sights for your gun, but you never shoot them at night. You never use them at night with live ammunition, practicing. So you need to get yourself night sights for your bear defense firearms and practice with them in low light or no light conditions at least once or twice a year, and be comfortable with using them in the dark. Practice also reloading in the dark as well. When you can't see anything, be able to reload in the dark, where you're not going to be able to, you're going to have to do everything by feel. You're going to have to feel your pouch where you have your extra magazine or speed loader. You're going to have to feel where the mag well is or where the cylinder is. And so practice doing things like that, practice reloading. You can do it in your home blindfolded, just blindfold yourself and, practice reloading in the dark, and get yourself night sights, and, be aware of your surroundings when you're going somewhere and it's a low light, no light condition where there's bears around. All right, because they're going to have the advantage in that situation. They have better vision at night than we do. And their sense of smell is incredible. So, they can smell you from a long distance away. So that's one major lesson to take away here, is that, all of these attacks happened at night. So if you're camping, just be aware of the fact that there could be a bear walking around while you're sleeping, and he's going to smell your body odor. He's going to smell the, granola bar crumbs that are on you, and he's going to go to your tent and investigate if there's any food there, or he may even see you as food. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But there are situations where bears will attack, in a predatory manner, where they see you as a food source. And it's not just that they're going after your food that you have, but they see you as food. Okay. And, the Fish and Wildlife Services and the game departments, they don't want to admit that. They want you to just think about, secure your food, tie it from a tree, carry bear spray, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That'll work for like 60% of bears. But what about the bears that are after you because they want to eat you and they see you as a food source? It happens many, many times. Every year, somebody dies out of due to a predatory bear attack. Okay, and the media doesn't really talk about that. They only talk about storing your food properly and carrying bear spray. Well, if you're in a situation where there's a predatory bear attack, bear spray is not going to work. Okay, that's why you need to have a firearm. You need to train with it. You need to have appropriate ammunition. You need solid bullets that can penetrate through dense muscle, fat, hide, and bone. Um, if recoil bothers you, then you need to man up. And you're not, you can't expect to drop 1,000-pound animal with a 9 millimeter. Yeah, it's happened before, but it's not a situation you want to be in. You need to man up and get the appropriate tool for the job. And if you're not capable of handling that kind of recoil, then you shouldn't be in bear country. Especially with your family, where you're putting your family's life at risk and you don't have the capability to defend them. Um, so, um, bears are active at night. You need to be prepared for that. There are situations where bears can be man eaters, and we don't know exactly why that grizzly bear in Montana dragged that 65-year-old woman from her tent. We don't know if that was because it smelled food on her that she was eating, or or the bear was interested in her as a meal. It's possible that the food drew the bear in, and once the bear was there, it realized that she was an easy meal and that the bear just killed her to try to eat her. Um, that's a possibility. Same thing in the Smokies, the 16-year-old girl that was attacked by the black bear. We don't know why that bear did that. Was it predatory, or was it just, a bear doesn't just come up and randomly start attacking you like that in the middle of the night unless it's a predatory attack. Bears have been known to ambush people when there's a predatory attack. When a bear is engaging in a predatory attack, they've been known to exhibit stalking behavior, where they try to hide in brushy areas and they'll ambush you and they'll attack you out of nowhere. So if a bear is exhibiting that kind of behavior, if they ambush you and they don't give you any warning and they just start attacking, that's usually a sign of a predatory attack. Unless you happen to walk right up to a bear by accident, then of course it's going to immediately attack you out of defense. But if a bear just comes out of nowhere and charges you and attacks you, a lot of times that's a predatory attack if it's exhibiting that type of stalking behavior, and you have to take immediate action to protect yourself. But even close to home over here in upstate New York, we had 2 predatory attacks in the last 15 years close to where I live. There was one predatory attack in 2003, I believe, in Fallsburg, New York, which is in the southern Catskill Mountain area. And there was a predatory attack on a baby. A woman left her child in the backyard in a stroller, and a bear ran out of the woods and grabbed her child by the head and dragged it into the woods. And, she ended up running outside and scaring the bear off, but it was too late. Um, just the bear grabbing the child, the infant child by the head, immediately killed the baby. And really sad story there. But that happened in 2003. And then fast forward to 2017, there was a group of hikers that were attacked by a predatory black bear in northwestern New Jersey. And this bear ended up stalking and killing one of the hikers and consuming one of them. And the conservation department ended up finding the bear, and they shot it and killed it, and it had human remains inside of it, so it was eating the hiker that it killed. And it was a male bear, about 300 pounds or so, And it was when they found the bear, it was standing over the corpse of the hiker and guarding it as if it was his, prey that he killed, like his meal. He was guarding it from the conservation officers, and they shot it. So predatory, that's another lesson number 2. Predatory bear attacks happen, okay? And we don't know why this bear was attacking the guy in Alaska either, but predatory attacks do happen. They happen every year. All you have to do is just read the bear attack statistics, and the most predatory attacks tend to happen in remote areas, and that's why I'm thinking that the attack on the teenager in the Smokies, and the attack on the woman in Montana, and also the attack on the guy in Alaska in his remote camp were probably all of them were predatory attacks, because they were all in remote areas, secluded areas, and that's typically where the predatory bear attacks usually happen, is in remote locations, because a lot of the bears in those areas, they haven't developed a fear of man because they have no reason to, because in remote areas they aren't hunted, they're not, interacting with people, so they don't know if you're predator or prey, and most of the times bears tend to treat everything as prey because they know that they're larger and stronger than every creature around, so they'll just automatically attack you and see what happens. So that's why having a firearm is important. They're active at night. You need to have night sights on your guns. You need to have appropriate ammunition, and you need to have enough ammunition. Like the guy in Alaska, for instance, he didn't have enough ammo. He was running out. If you're just going for a simple day hike, you're going for a day hike or even just a short hike for a couple hours, you don't need to carry an arsenal on you. But if you're going to be camping out in a remote area somewhere for days or weeks, you should have at least a few boxes of ammo on you, because you never know what can happen. There could be more than one bear, and a lot of times you miss your shots. You miss your shots if a bear is charging you. You may shoot at it 5 times, and you may only hit it once. So carry extra ammo if you're going to be out in the woods for an extended period of time. Make sure you have, at least 100 rounds of ammo for your primary defensive weapon. If you're going out for a few days, I would carry at least 100 rounds, not on my person, but I would have it somewhere nearby. I would have a can of ammo. This guy obviously ran out of ammo. He had a pistol. Pistols are also good, but if you're in an area like Alaska, you're better off just carrying a rifle. Get yourself a high power rifle. You guys have seen me on my channel shooting my 416 Ruger, which is an elephant gun. That's the kind of gun that you want if you're going to be in a very remote area in Alaska, because you can get yourself a Magnum handgun, but a Magnum handgun is nowhere near as powerful as a Magnum rifle. And a Magnum rifle is really what you need to immediately stop a bear attack with one shot. A Magnum rifle is your best option. I would start at 338 Win Mag and go up from there. I think a 338 Win Mag is a great option with a nice short barrel, 20 to 22 inches. You can go up to a 375 Ruger, or even up to a 416 or 458. But carry yourself a rifle if you're going to be in a serious bear country area like Alaska. Pistols are great, but shooting a pistol accurately with a bear charging you is very difficult. And it's hard enough to shoot a pistol even at a range when everything is perfect, conditions are perfect, you don't have your adrenaline spiking. It's hard enough, but once your adrenaline starts to go up, and that bear's running at you, your hands are going to be shaking. It's going to be hard for you to keep those sights aligned. And having a rifle is just much easier to aim because you have a stock you can place into your shoulder. And it's also 2 to 3 times as powerful, or even 4 or 5 times as powerful as even a Magnum handgun. So if you're in a serious backcountry area like Alaska or even Montana, consider getting yourself a nice, compact rifle in a Magnum cartridge. You want something that's going to leave a big hole, be able to penetrate, and also have a good amount of energy. You want something that's like at least 3,500 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, or even 4,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. 338 Win Mag is a great option. You want iron sights, no scope for a defensive rifle like that. So lessons learned, bears are active at night. They can be predatory. Make sure you get night sights for your firearms that you plan to use defensively in bear country. Make sure you have enough flashlights too. If you have to go out at night and deal with a bear, if you don't have a flashlight or you run out of batteries, or you lose your flashlight, I always carry 2 flashlights when I go deep into the woods. I have a primary flashlight and then I have a backup flashlight, because if something happens to your main flashlight, you may drop it on the ground, you may break it, something may happen. You have that backup light that you can use, so you have some way of illuminating your surroundings. So carry a backup flashlight, you can get like these mini flashlights nowadays that are very light. They weigh like nothing, and they're super bright and super powerful. And so you get yourself a backup flashlight. Make sure you have enough batteries on hand, because if you have to illuminate your surroundings, flashlight's going to be critical, especially in a defensive scenario where you have to shoot at a bear. Make sure you practice with your night sights, and just be aware that bears can be predatory. And another thing too, another lesson learned here is that a lot of these bear attacks, they happened in national parks. So actually pretty much almost most big major bear attacks, they happen in national parks or near national parks. Okay. For example, the teenage girl was in the Smokies. The woman that was killed by the grizzly was in right outside of Glacier. And then the guy in Alaska was not in a national park, but Alaska is very densely populated with bears. But a lot of bear attacks happen in national parks, and the reason why is because there's no hunting in national parks. You can't hunt bears in national parks. So because of that, there's a higher density of bears in national parks because there's no apex predator that's trying to kill them, okay? Versus outside of national parks, there's still a lot of bears, but they're a little bit more controlled. Their population is a little bit more controlled, and it's not as dense because hunting is permitted outside of national parks. So just keep that in mind, that when you go to a national park, the bears are the apex predator in that park because there's nothing hunting them. There's no hunting seasons in national parks. So the populations are much more dense. Okay. The bear populations are much more dense. And so, make sure you carry a firearm there. Now, in 2016, believe it or not, Obama, before he left office, he actually signed a law that allows you to now carry firearms in national parks as long as you're abiding by state laws wherever that park is. Okay, so carry your firearm. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Okay. So now another lesson to be learned, and this is the last major lesson, is that just because you're in a town doesn't mean that you're safe. Like the woman in Montana, they posted up their tents right next door to the post office, and they thought they were safe because they were in a town and there were people around. But that's just not the case, and I could tell you from experience living in the country for 20 years, I have bears that, come right into, I've had bears come right into my backyard. And in the towns that I've lived in, bears will just go right into the middle of town. They don't care. They're not afraid. They'll come at night and they'll go right into the middle of town and investigate dumpsters. any kind of dumpster that may have food in it. So just because you're in a town doesn't mean that you're safe. Okay, bears don't care about that. All right, so that's another thing too. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on bear defense and bear attacks. And if there's any more bear attacks, I'll let you guys know about them. And I'm going to be doing a lot of bear hunting this year, actually. So I'll try to get some footage of that and post some videos up. The New York State has an early bear season that starts in September. So just in about a month and a half, the bear season is going to start. So I'll be out there hunting, and I'll try to bring you guys some footage of that. So, but that's pretty much it, guys. I hope this video helped you out. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.